Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 20th meeting of the Richmond Selectboard. Do we have any public comment?
Make a quick
Josh
comment
first, and then Chelsea.
So as many of you know,
You are
Josh Arneson,
Thank
Richmond Town Manager, also a former Camel Sump Little League president. Was president of the Camel Sump Little League for 4 years. I stepped down this year as my oldest son aged out. But I want to give a special congratulations to the 12-year-old all-star team who just won the district championship for Camel Sump Little League. It's the first time ever that a team from Richmond or the Camel Sump area has won the district championship. So great for them. This, just to give some context, this is the league, this is the division that goes on to Williamsport and be on TV. So if they can win states and they can win New England, they can go to Williamsport. But a little reality check, there's never been a team from Vermont to win New England to go to Williamsport.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll be the first. But congrats to the kids and to all the parents and coaches.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, congratulations.
Chelsea.
Chelsea Brooks, I actually just had a question or observation, if anybody has seen it or knows where they came from, but there are blue Yeti footprints that go across Jericho Road right now. Painted on Jericho Road from the old water tower pull-off, crossing the street. It's, yeah, I don't know where they came from. If the town knows about them, if highway cares about them, definitely a little distracting. I sort of thought something was in the road, so braked. Hitting the brakes, braked.
broke.
I'll ask Pete.
Thankfully, my car did not broke, but yeah.
I hadn't seen him. I'll ask Pete about him and see what we can do. Thank you.
Make them reflective so we can see them. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Chelsea.
I have a public comment question. My name is Hannah Harrington. I live on West Main, pretty much right at the end as you're driving out of town, and people drive really fast in front of my house there. And so I talked to a couple of the police officers to see what are, to let them know, they know about that, but to keep it on the radar. And we talked for a little while, and an idea was one of the speed cars, which is not possible because that is a state road and would require a permit. And they told me that they have historically done that and that permit didn't go anywhere. So I was wondering if we could either at a future, I know that my neighbors would also be interested in this discussion. And so I was wondering if that could be something that the select board discussed, because they were, so the police officer recommended that I go to you all about what to do. Whether that be an additional speed limit sign or one with the, meter on it. But I just want to bring that up, and potentially we can have a agenda item in the future or something.
Sure. I don't, off the top of my head, know what the process is. We're doing signage or.
Yeah, we can, if you want to put it on the next agenda, we can talk about it in more detail for sure.
Do that.
Thank you. I think just as a thanks for coming and speaking in public comment. I assume this is one of the first times that you've come to speak, and I appreciate new voices, so appreciate you coming in. And if you have any questions, you can reach out via email. We can help you through the process.
Can we encourage targeted speed patrol in that area?
Yeah, usually Chief Cohen, once he hears about an area of concern, he usually tries to do some patrols there, but I'll follow up and remind him as well.
Thanks.
I'll just point out, for historical perspective, there was a time that the officers parked in the church driveway, and trolling for speeders was virtually a daily occurrence.
I remember the time, I believe that they had officers stationed at either end, like almost full time. So I remember that phase as well. So I know that it's been a long standing.
Sure.
Can I request that when you start to consider this, you start to have some more analytics on actual tickets written over the past 5 years, and in what the areas they were written in. We've had a large concentration on Cochran Road versus other areas of town. And I know that you've had people from East Hill Road in, you've had people from a lot of different roads in. So I'd like to see some statistical data on the past 5 years. I know we had Heinsberg for a period of time, and now we've had our own 2 officers, but if you need to even go back prior to Heinsberg, when you had a full police force and say, this is a full police force and this is the tickets that were written in the different roads. But if there's roads that we are focusing on over others, it shows you that others then get abused. So I'd really like to have that data.
I don't know if they would consider, but the speed cart, I don't know, I think that's what's called, will also collect data.
Yes.
So I think that it would be great if we could get, I don't know if that they could try for another permit to have something like that there, but
Yeah.
it would be,
90% of the time it doesn't work.
oh, okay, well.
So it's just there for the sign.
The data collection portion maybe doesn't work.
They haven't done, they haven't come up with a lot of data yet that I've seen for us to review, so.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda? So we've got one we're gonna make. The housing committee will not be joining us tonight, so we're gonna strike that from the agenda. Item E. Anything else? Okay, on to the main agenda. First, we have appointments to the Water and Sewer Commission. There are, so all 5 seats are up for appointment. There are 3 seats in the commission that must be filled by select board members. And there are 2 seats that are filled by customers of the water and sewer department. Is there anyone who would like to make any appointments?
So I guess just we need some context on it, so.
go ahead.
Yeah, so right now, the current members from the select board are Bard Hill, David Sander,
Thank you, Jeff.
and Greg Rabideau. They're all, as you mentioned, 1-year terms. The 2 customer seats are filled by Morgan Walliver and Aaron Farr. Right now, we have Morgan and Aaron both reapplying for seats. We also have Merrick Giles, who has applied for a seat as well, but from the customer side. So the agenda item tonight is to appoint 2 customer seats and 3 seats from the select board.
Can I suggest we start with the select board just to get it out of the way? You guys want to sit on the water sewer commission?
I think just purely time wise, I don't think I will ever make it to a water sewer commission on time, but
So I just recommend then the default is, we could appoint the 3 current members for another 3 years, and if it's prudent or reasonable, do that in a single motion.
I think Caitlin and I both agree with that.
Yep.
Would you like to make that motion?
1 year.
yeah,
Yes.
but as long as you don't mind voting for yourself, you could do it in a single motion. Otherwise, you would have to be separate motions to
Yeah,
separate it
fair
out.
It's not a long-term commitment.
Do you want me to do it all in one or in separate?
Yes, I'll do it.
I move to appoint Bard Hill, David Sander, and Greg Rabideau to a 1-year term on the Water and Sewer Commission for a seat reserved for seats reserved for select board members.
This is Adam, I'll second. Since we already have you voting on your own motion, we don't want you to second it as well.
Thank you, Adam.
It is awkward if they do both vote against it though, so they don't want to be on there. They have to-
That is an option.
Any discussion about this motion?
No,
I think it's straightforward, Bard, aye.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, I.
Thank you all.
Continued double service.
Yes, thank you.
Next we have 2 1-year terms for customers of the water and sewer service. Do we have Merrick agree with us? Yeah. Would you like to
Yeah, absolutely.
come and chat with us?
I wrote a letter in, and I just also wanted to appreciate there's been 2 folks that have been on it for a while. I think Josh sent me a note, and definitely if those folks want to go on and wouldn't want to push anyone off, but I think I have a fair amount of background in this field, and I just moved back to town. We were living in Bolton for 5 years. I lived here previous, and am now a water and sewer customer, and now own a house I was renting before, so I have more vested stake than I ever have. And yeah, I've since left the field of work, but carry a lot of sewer and water knowledge in my brain, and my wife's bored of me telling her about it. So I'm happy to contribute to the town if that's the select board's pleasing. And yeah, happy to answer any questions. But I follow along loosely. I do think being on the committee would hold me accountable to show up and contribute. told Josh I'd like to contribute even if not, but I honestly think I spread myself sometimes like a little bit, but I'm pretty good at holding a calendar, so I think I'd be here and present if on the committee, but you know, that would be how I'd contribute, so.
Do you mind giving us a really quick synopsis of your background for anyone who didn't get a
Yeah,
chance to read the
absolutely.
letter?
I'm sorry, I forgot that'd be a private letter. So I graduated UVM in 2019 and I spent one weekend and then I started to work as a municipal engineer for a private consulting firm, Aldrich and Elliott. So I spent 5 years doing solely work for municipalities around the state, worked for a number of communities the size of Richmond, didn't do any jobs for Richmond, but worked for pretty much all the surrounding communities. And most of my work focused on asset management studies for water and sewer systems. I went through a number of 20-year upgrades, participated on a number of stormwater designs and permitting for stormwater generals. I think pretty much everything the town sort of gets into. We only did work for towns. And I didn't do any roadway or bridge work, but pretty much everything else under the department I probably had my hand in. So yeah, I loved it, but something else came up. I'm doing recreation management now. I really like that too. So
Of the other candidates that we have, do we have anyone that is, no one's stepping down?
When I submitted my letter, I thought I had lots of free time. It turns out that we're starting a new business in town, sort of new, not really new. And that has come up within the last month. So I would be happy to step down if you feel that you have another very qualified candidate. I also would be happy to, like, obviously I've seen this project as far as I have seen it, and it is a little difficult for me to say no to something. But I think realistically, the lady at the dance studio is decided to close and retire. So we're starting a new dance studio. And it will be in the same place. But I do think that's going to take a lot of my time. So I also feel like when the letters were due, this hadn't come up yet, but now that it has come up and we have a qualified candidate, I would be happy to step down. I'd also be happy to sub if you like. I don't know how that works. But like if you got into it and were like, oh my God, I can't do this, I would come back because I feel like attached to the project. But I feel like if you have a good person, it might be the time to take it instead of you know, me getting into it and in the fall being like, I can't do everything.
Okay, right.
I've burned myself out. I would recommend not doing that. I think I suspect you might do it
Feel
anyway.
lots sometimes. So I think somewhere you're gonna draw a line in the sand.
Okay,
Do we want to hear from Morgan as well?
Yeah.
Just
sure.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but I've been on the commission for, I guess, 3 years so far, same amount of time, I think, as Aaron, but I've enjoyed it and would be happy and interested in serving another one-year term, especially as we're coming into trying to figure out how to finance the 20-year refurbishment. I'm not sure, 20-year study, I guess is what it's called, but anyway. Yeah, and I've enjoyed it, and hopefully I've provided some benefit to being on the commission for the town.
Thank you, Morgan.
Thanks, Morgan.
What would the board like to do?
Well, I would like to start with I move to appoint Morgan and Morgan Williver to a 1-year term on the Water and Sewer Commission for a seat reserved for a customer of the water and or sewer system.
This is David, I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, aye.
And then I would like to call out Aaron, thank you so much for all of the service that you've done here, and I'm excited to see what you can do with the dance studio. I'm sure that everyone would love your input as they go through the process. And Merrick, coming into this role, I think getting to know Aaron is probably a really amazing opportunity. And I would like to call out that this does make an all-male Water and Sewer Commission committee, which is okay, and partially my fault for not coming on board as the select board member, but I'd love to see more women voices, and I appreciate yours and having that strong voice and action in the committee.
I agree.
With that, I move to appoint Merrick, is it Giles? Gillies, excuse me. I move to appoint Merrick Gillies to a one-year term on the Water and Sewer Commission for a seat reserved for a customer of the water and or sewer system.
This is David. I'll second that, and I'll also thank Erin for her service, and I hope you'll still come to the meetings.
After you read it, but.
Seems like the best case scenario for everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we have any discussion? All those in favor?
Art, I.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, aye.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Eric,
Erin.
thank you.
Eric.
Welcome
Thanks,
to the commission.
Instantaneous, meeting on Thursday, or is it,
No, it happens.
is it until August?
Starts now.
Okay.
Bang, bang, boom.
So, Merrick, I'll be sending you an email tomorrow about potential special meeting for the Water and Sewer Commission, so.
Exciting.
And a few other procedural items.
Excellent.
Thank you, Merrick. We're excited to have you on board.
Yeah.
Your ethics.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
We'll get some stuff for us.
It's a joke. There really is.
There really is.
We are really putting a lot of effort into following our ethics guidelines and getting everyone on board. So.
Yeah, I was just serving on the whole planning commission last.
Oh,
Cool.
There you go. That's cool.
Next we have a consideration of making an appointment to the Trails Committee. Do we have Mike with us? No.
Mike has been on the committee for a while.
Yeah.
Since, what, 7?
Right, yeah, he's like one of the longest running, men. Right?
Yeah, I think it was 2017 is what it said.
Yeah.
And he just didn't get an application in time for renewal, so he's asking to be appointed now,
Perfect.
or reappointed, basically.
This is Caitlin. I move to appoint Mike Donahue to a 3-year term on the Trails Committee.
This is David. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, aye. Congratulations, Mike. 3 more years. We'll put him in a decade, I think, right? It's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's it. Next, we have an update on the Trails Committee expenditures for maintenance on the Class 4 section of Johnnie Brook Rd and the Rivershore Trail, in consideration of retroactively approving maintenance work on the Class 4 section of Johnnie Brook Rd.
Me.
oh.
So I'm Hannah Harrington. I am the co-chair of the trail committee. And in I think it was our April or May meeting, we met with Greg Western, who does a bunch of work with the Cross Vermont Trail and has been an incredible partner for keeping up that section of trail, which, as you know, has been hit with a lot of water issues over the years. And we've been able to, in partnership, maintain that connection that a lot of people use every day. There was a culvert that needed to be replaced towards the beginning of the trail, as you get off the off the main road, not off of. And that one had gotten pretty deep. So it was we had a variety of options. He kind of ran through a couple options with us on ways that could be addressed to maintain pedestrian and bike access on that trail. Replacing the culvert was the most cost-effective and efficient way to do that. And Greg made a proposed to us and that he would do, and Cross Vermont would do all of the work, get the machine, and if the trail committee would be open to allocating some of our annual budget towards that work. And that is really a great deal for us to keep that piece of trail in good shape. So we let people know at the town that was happening. And then we as a committee approved that spending out of our budget without knowing. No one on the committee knew that because it was a Class 4 road and not just a trail, that we had to go in front of the select board to ask approval. So I'm asking for retroactive approval to use some of our trail committee funds to pay for a portion of materials on a culvert replacement in partnership with the Cross Vermont Trail.
I just say, I think this is a good idea and it's well intended. This is the second or third time I've run into committees spending money that they don't have authority to spend. And I understand, especially people who come from the private sector, you think it's in the budget. Oh, we can manage it. I'm almost thinking, you guys, that we need something in like our ethics policy or onboarding that's clear that when a committee needs to get the town manager's approval and when the committee needs to get the select board approval.
So it's repeatedly happened. It's not,
Yes.
it's obviously a failing of
Yeah.
us in the town to communicate this accurately. It's not.
Co-chair, like that would be a wonderful thing to have. And I've been on this committee for, I think it's like 5 years now. And this is my first time spending any money. And we emailed people, we let people know, we thought we had done what we had to do. So it was a little discouraging to like, we did that wrong. And I think for chairs and also just members to have a better training and understanding of how to do things right would be wonderful. But we also apologize for not doing that correctly.
So that's a sidebar. That's the bigger picture. Back to the task at hand.
Yeah, does anyone have any questions on the work?
No, it's been pretty well explained.
Okay.
I actually saw it before Josh and I talked about this. Looks good.
Yeah,
Looks like it was professionally done.
it was.
Kara?
Can I just ask him some questions? First of all, thank you for doing work on the trails. I believe in maintaining what we need to maintain. Some questions, since it's a roadway, it doesn't need a permit because it's a town road, but did the town highway foreman oversee it and confirm it was okay? And did we go the same size culvert or larger culvert because of the floodplain and floodway and all the flooding issues? So were all of those things looked at? Or if they weren't, are we going to go back and revisit and not just stamp everything okay without making sure we've done our due diligence properly to make sure it lasts, it was installed correctly, it was increased size if anything, and those pieces to the puzzle? And I sometimes you guys have to issue a permit to yourselves for doing work, but I don't think you issue permits for work in a roadway usually. It's usually road maintenance, so it depends if somebody else is doing it, and then you get the issue of the insurance and the liability and all of those kind of factors in. I'm so glad you got somebody to do it and to help with the cost of it, but I really think you need to make sure you dot your i's and cross your t's for this.
Right, so just to the procedural aspects of it, I don't know much about the actual culvert that was installed, but it's in the town's policy that any improvement to a class 4 road has to be approved by the select board. At that point, yeah, if it came before you, you would probably ask the same questions that Kara's asking about, what does Pete think, what size culvert? So I think that's sort of why the process is there. Also, it's class 4 road, so if it's a regular class 3 road, Pete just takes care of things because he's the road foreman as he sees fit, because it's a traveled roadway. Class 4s aren't necessarily always traveled, so it's really sort of spending at the select board's discretion. I can turn it over to you as far as the type of culvert you put in, the process you went through to determine that.
Yeah, I think the main person we spoke to, the person who uses it with a farm truck, are the FARs. So do you know where the?
Yes.
Yeah, so that is used to access their farmland. They have a right of way there and it's right there.
Okay.
So we worked with them to make sure that the culvert replacement, which is the same size culvert, was installed in a way that they, could use their farm equipment.
So do you want to, considering, I guess. I don't know. If you want to inspect it, do you want to have just Pete, like look at it? And give us thumbs up or thumbs down?
Yep, we can speak to
I mean, we should,
I mean, didn't he do a lot of work on Richmond, on Huntington Richmond Road, where the washouts occurred and cut into the pavement? He did some culvert work up there, and then you had washouts that's happened going down toward the far property from the Richmond Heinsberg Road. So just to make sure if something needed to be regraded in there or taking care of the channels, it's just to get.
So I'm sorry so my other co-chair, Allison, is the one who was taking the lead on the communications. And I just remembered she's out of town today, so she couldn't be here. She did speak with them. What is his name? Pete. So she talked to Pete, and Pete did not want to be part of that project. So he knew what was happening, but it was not a priority for them to be part of that project. So it was
Good effort though, I don't blame them.
it was cleared by them.
It's the communications and just having them, the select board, because it's their liability and their responsibility to make sure they've done everything, but I appreciate that. But it's kind of funny, not his job.
Well, I think why Pete said, not my job, is because he knows it should be the select board that would sign off on it, because it's not part of his purview really to make recommendations on it, but I think it's worth having him take a look at it, see what he thinks.
Sure.
And then come back to the select board if that's what you guys would like to, just so you get our road foreman to look at it.
Yes.
It's different. It's his purview to approve culverts for driveways coming onto a town roadway. This is
Right,
owned road by the town, so the select board has the power to approve everything, just like they approve access permits, but they do it based on Pete's recommendation is all I'm saying.
Right, so, and what I'm saying is, I'm sure that he got this request and was like, I'm buried with other transportation projects, I'm not gonna prioritize this. The feedback potentially could have been, hey, talk to Josh, talk to the select board, and then I would have done that. So I think, yeah, some of the communication got dropped there, but I think that's why Pete wasn't trying to.
No, I think he mentioned specifically
Right.
that the priorities were to continue some of the driveway and road washouts from the storm.
So, yeah, I
Which
mean, I think.
obviously is a priority
So I think
over
having
a
him-
small culvert on a trail.
I think having him take a look at it as built and then kind of giving us a report as far as what he sees, and if he sees anything that should be changed, and we can go back to that.
That's good.
That makes
Perfect.
sense.
Yeah, and so that's how I would have viewed this, not to do the work, but to say, what does the work need to consider? How big's the culvert need to be?
All right, get him to take a peek at it by the next meeting and then we'll either rubber stamp it or
Well, we'll suggest
just
changes.
figure out how to fix it.
Yeah.
Probably suspect it's probably good, but we'll get Pete to lay eyes on it.
We'll also get a resource over, and Josh, I'll have you take a look at that. But I will send a draft of a resource of like when you have to do what
Authorities.
authorities,
Okay.
like spending.
Yeah, and I think we'll send out a reminder to all committees here probably this week to say, hey, you don't have authority to spend. And I think, if nothing else, we can add it in after we make appointments, after the board makes appointments in May.
Yeah.
We send a communication to all committees about upping their ethics. I think in that we can talk about, just remember, if you want to spend any money, talk to the town manager first. That's a pretty simple, easy directive, and then I can help give more direction if there's more that needs to be done.
Great.
Yeah.
Even another comment.
Excuse
Oh,
me, it's not just the spending, Caitlin, though, it's town assets, and when changing, altering, or doing something with a town asset, that's what they've got to be aware of too, because she might have had it, hold it on 100% grant funded or provided by private individuals. It's about the actual town asset, so the class 4 road. Thank you.
Cool, okay, thanks. That's helpful.
Yeah, well, I don't think you need to come back next time.
Okay, there was one other part on there about the
Oh.
Rivershore Trail.
Yeah, and that, I think, really, you bought some wood and nails to rebuild the bridge. It was washed out in the flood, and I think that goes along the same lines of, before you spend money, check with the town manager.
And that's not the first time we've done that kind of work, right? I mean, I don't know how many times.
Yeah, so that work, there was sorry.
I mean, just over the years, having walked down there, you say, oh, this one's falling apart, and then you walk down there, oh, it's replaced.
There we go.
So obviously,
It's magic, it's nice.
yeah.
Yeah, and after the 23 flood, there was a conservation fund request to rebuild a number of those bridges. So that was reviewed by the select board, the money was approved and allocated, and then the committee worked on getting the actual lumber, going through the process with zoning to make sure everything was square, and doing those rebuilds. So this was, I think you guys probably viewed it as, oh, another one we got to do. But having the money approved, and again, as Kara was saying, making sure that, the structural assets are approved by the select board, or at least follow the zoning process.
And the last piece, Caitlin, to add is permitting, because I believe when those bridges had to be replaced, they had to go through the DRB because it's in the floodway or plain. So they had to get the proper permitting, even though it was free, because it's a town issuing a permit to themselves, but that's record of when they were replaced and who replaced them and how they replaced to make sure it was all done.
Got it. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks, Hannah.
Okay, great.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sam.
Next, we have consideration of asking Chittenden County Regional Planning Commission to conduct a speed study on Jericho Rd. I believe Chelsea's with us. We had some,
So,
Speeding is more popular than ever.
so I don't have anything, incredibly eloquent to present to you tonight. I did take some photos before I came here if you were curious or wanted me to send them to you. But really, this started because they emailed Josh about a number of things, 3 different things on Jericho Road. And this one, he said it'll, come before the select board, and the process is having CCRPC do a speed study.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so sort of the background is I've lived where I live on Jericho Road for 15 years now, and it's the sort of upper part where it changes from 35 to 45. And back when the speed along Route 2 in town was 50, I didn't question this as much, but now that it's 40, I'm like, why in the heck is this section of Jericho Road that's windy and has poor visibility and various different things that are logic behind not thinking that is an appropriate speed. So finally, I just decided to ask Josh, and here I am before you, because that section is definitely windy. There's blind spots. The way that the road like sort of peaks and dips, like you come up over a hill and then all of a sudden there's a driveway there. And so the reason that I was like taking some pictures, because I don't know the threshold with which you make the decision to do a speed study. But part of the reason I brought it up is just that if you look at like how much sight distance does somebody need for a driveway on a road, we were just kind of talking about some of the stuff with access permits, and it's more than we have up there, especially like in the section near me. One of my neighbors, like it's maybe 200 feet to where they can't see anything. And I think 495 feet is the distance you're meant to be able to see. Granted, these are all homes that are, put in back in the 70s, and I don't know what the sight distances were then or what the process was for their approval. But now that we are where we're at today, and folks are, I think would be safer if it was
when
not.
was the last time we did a speed study here, Josh?
So I don't have anything in my files for a speed study in Jericho Road. I did reach out to CCRPC. I haven't heard back from them yet. Sometimes they have speed studies that I haven't seen, but I haven't seen one in recent years. And really just to refresh everybody's memory, the process of speed. So in order to change the speed limit on any road, you have to have a speed study by a traffic engineer. CCRPC usually is able to provide us with 1 or 2 a year that's included in our dues to CCRPC at no additional charge. And what they do is there's a number of things that go into it, but a brief summary is they sort of look at current speeds that people are traveling. That's part of the data, but they also do look at, how many driveways are there, how many walkers, how many bikers, other infrastructure on the road. And then they gather all that data together and they put together a report with a recommended speed. Sometimes it stays the same, sometimes it's lower. And then that comes back to the select board for a decision on if it's a recommendation of a lower speed. Do you want to then incorporate that into the traffic coordinates? And then it's up to the board. Sometimes I've seen you usually say, yes, let's do that. Other times you said, nope, we like the speed the way it is. We're going to keep it that way. But this is the process to get to see if the board would be able to lower the speed.
I mean, if we don't have one on record, it seems reasonable to
Ask
that
for
study.
one.
I imagine that traffic pattern has changed a lot since forever ago.
Yeah. I mean,
Study
if
was-
if the CCRPC gets back and says, oh yeah, we did one 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about whether it's prudent to do another one. But if they haven't, I think if you want to give the authority to ask them to conduct it, we can do that.
Or
2 other comments. So they often look also at crash or accident data, but then another piece of this, a key piece is, of course, what is the actual behavior? And if people are going really fast and there aren't accidents, it tends to lean towards that. But I'd really point out that some of these roads have anomalies. When you cross a town line, the speed limit changes.
Yes, as
It
it
happens
does here.
all over the state, and it happens here on a couple of roads between Richmond and other towns. My real point was it maybe doesn't have to make sense, but it has a history and foundation.
Well, Jericho Road feels like a 35-mile-an-hour road, and when I cross that line and it goes to 45, I can't go 45 because it doesn't feel safe.
Yeah, I guess I would agree. I don't typically go
I don't go 45 other than sort of like on Cochran Road when I'm trying to test my limits on the speed bumps to, you know, see how fast I can go. Same thing. I don't go 45 on that upper part of Jericho Road because I feel like a NASCAR driver who's not qualified. It like sort of dips and turns in ways that I'm like, oh, I'm not doing that. So I just naturally go under the speed limit, but folks who are not, you know, from town and not familiar with the road, and it's a connector between here and Jericho. So individuals who aren't as familiar, you know, they push their limit, you know, and they're probably going over 45 and then they are like, whoa, and they, you know, learn their lesson perhaps. They certainly have a few times. I haven't seen accident like logs, but interestingly, right in front of my house, there's been several accidents. And so I don't know if people are just like neighbor helping neighbor and pulling them out of the ditch. One of them was a teenager who went off in the ditch right in front of my house. And like, I do know that somebody came and pulled them out. And then my husband went out and helped him stuff his bumper in the trunk of his car. And then another was actually like somebody veered off the road and went into one neighbor's yard and then across the street and down to the other neighbor's yard. And I never saw any report of that. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, I don't know what happened, but there's.
We'd like to give, I guess Josh would have to request CCRPC to do the study, and then we would need to give him permission to. Do we need to give you permission to give him the go ahead, or can we just request them to do it and give you permission?
Yeah, if you make the request to a motion to ask CCRPC to do it, I'll reach out to CCRPC on your behalf and ask them to do it. And if there's any issue, I'll let you know.
Adam, it's Bart. I'd move to request the CCRPC conduct a speed study on the 45-mile-per-hour speed limit portion of Jericho Rd.
This is Caitlin, I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Bart, aye.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, aye. Thank you, Chelsea.
Thanks.
Thank you. So it just, as we're contemplating this, I gotta share a story. Literally yesterday, I'm going through the THBC intersection and I'm going towards Huntington, turning right. There was a car that came from Huntington that is stopped in the middle of the intersection because they couldn't figure out what to do.
Mhm.
It was a, yeah, it was just, and there was no accident. It was just really curious. And it was somebody with out-of-state plates who was just flummoxed briefly about what to do. Illustrates the significance of some of those conversations.
Very off topic, but I almost had an accident today. Somebody stopped in a roundabout in Montpelier. And I was, of course, looking the other way and yeah. Don't stop in roundabouts.
You should probably keep looking straight ahead too, though, David. Next, we have consideration of nominating 2 select board members to begin discussions with the Champlain Housing Trust regarding the Vermont Community Development Program loan for the apartments at Borden Street. So there's obviously a lot of history here, but I think the more recent history is that when they were restructuring their loan, refinancing, it came to, I guess, to front of mind. I don't think it was ever hidden, but it came to front of mind that this loan will be, I guess, called or in 3 years, I think.
It'll hit another timeline.
Yeah. And so instead of waiting for that to happen, to begin discussions about what we would like to do when that happens, we have decided to try to come up with a plan ahead of time. So part of the first step would be to kind of, I wouldn't say have an informal meeting, but have a slightly more casual meeting than an open select board meeting. With non-quorum of members would be one option, just to feel out what our options are, what their requests might be, and what our requests might be.
I have 2 suggestions. One, it's my bias that we should not avoid open public meeting law, or we should not unduly pursue executive sessions. And I think this is one that we could easily hold it at an open public meeting and people could join and watch or whatever. I would also recommend that we have at least 1 or 2 reps from the housing committee who's expressed interest in housing. So if there's any trade-offs to be made, cash or otherwise, I think the housing committee would be useful participants.
Yeah, I generally agree. I think we can have a pretty dynamic, candid conversation with the 2 members quick and update the board and the community about that. And then I think that we might make a lot of headway really quick, as opposed to doing this all in open. Not that we want to hide it, but that having it in a less, I don't know, having less eyes on it might create more candid conversation. Go ahead, Josh.
So I think you have the option to, if you do decide to nominate 2 select board members, you could hold an open meeting of a subcommittee of the select
Yeah.
board. So, and that might be,
Good point.
a little bit easier way to maybe spend an hour or 2 rather than a select board meeting, kind of hash through some of those details. The public could join and participate. And then you can come back to the select board with a bit more of a refined, like, okay, there's been a little bit of progress. Here's where we're at. And then certainly there'd be more regular select board meetings as well.
Yeah.
But it's just a way to kind of start the process still in a public forum.
And again, what I would recommend as an addition is invitation to at least a
Housing committee?
subset of the housing committee.
Okay.
Yeah, to clarify, it's not a closed meeting. It would just be not a quorum of our
Right.
standard select board meeting. So it wouldn't be closed to the public in the way that an executive session would be.
And there's a question.
Kara, go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate your recommendation, Josh. I think that's a great idea to have a subcommittee and have it open to the public, because I know historically the select board has been upset when the community has gone to petition or has gone to a town meeting and said, we don't want what you had planned. This gives the opportunity for people to come forward and not be pulled the rug out from underneath you after you've started to work down a path. So I think that's a great idea. Have a subcommittee and have some discussion that can open the avenues to try to consider everything. So it's not this last minute, oh no, we never thought of that, or somebody never brought that to our attention kind of thing. So great idea.
Connie?
Hi there, I'm Connie Vanigan. I'm a Richmond resident and a member of the Housing Committee. And we recently, as a Housing Committee, met to reflect on what the Select Board had previously discussed in its last meeting. And we're very much interested in engaging in this conversation and have thought about questions that could also include the representatives from the health trust, the housing trust, and to start those conversations in an as open a way as possible. One of the things that we thought is that we think is important is that the way we work on this issue will likely reflect on our future arrangements to fund housing. So the value and the importance of starting this early and having open conversations, shared information, and including all stakeholders from the front end is super important to our way of thinking. So we would welcome the opportunity to work with members of the public and select board and other engaged interest holders in getting this work done.
Thank you, Connie. Do we have any members who would like to partake in this? I think it would be important that we have 2 members so we don't create a quorum.
I'm able and willing, but I also, if other people are motivated.
Thank you, Bart. Was
Depending on timing, I could probably do it. Do we have any timing as far as either days or just how far are we talking, like a month from now, or?
I think a lot of it's going to depend on which 2 members and then coordinating with a couple representatives from, I was getting it wrong, Champlain Housing Trust and VCDP. And if we want to include Housing Committee to try to figure out a time, I mean, it could be middle day, it could be evening. I think it's going to depend on how many people we're coordinating. And it might be a month or so out, depending on how many we have to coordinate. And I mean, we have a little bit of urgency on this, but I don't think it has to happen tomorrow.
We purposely planned years in advance, so.
Yeah.
I would just observe that Champlain Housing Trust is likely to be more enthusiastic about daytime meetings since it's their jobs versus volunteer positions.
And we would set it up for in-person and virtual attendance as well.
Yeah.
Make sure
Just people can tune in and listen.
if people can tune in and listen, and if there's a board member who's at work and it's at noon, you want to zoom in during your lunch hour for this, you can do that as well. Try to make it flexible.
I'll gladly do that, yeah.
I can be an alternative if you can't.
Awesome, the two of us, someone will make it.
So Adam, this is David. I move to appoint Bard Hill and Adam Wood to the Vermont Community Development Program Loan Committee for the town of Richmond Selectboard.
This is Caitlin, I'll second.
Once again, you have to vote for yourself.
That's true. So I'm comfortable doing that on this since it's non-contentious volunteer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have no authority. It's a good point. I have the authority to not show up. That's about it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Bard, aye.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, aye. Great. So stay tuned for details. Sounds like that will not be planned in the immediate future, but a few weeks.
For doing that. Appreciate you being proactive.
Yeah, it was great work. I mean, sounds like this could be a long process, so getting a couple year jump on it to set us up for success. Next we have consideration of replacing one or more speed humps on Cochran Rd with speed tables. So I think Pete indicated he could install one for about $1,500 to $2,000 in materials, but he can't do it this year. Josh reached out to a bunch of contractors in the city of Burlington. You got kind of verbal estimates, right?
I got one emailed response, and I was from Dirt Tech. They said $3,900 for one speed table, or $23,400 for all six, which is just 3,900 times six. So I thought there might be a volume discount if you did six, like mobilization.
Maybe they did.
Well, I don't know. But I did say.
Actually, they didn't bump the price up if they did all six.
Yeah, I mean, too. No, but I did ask, when I reached out to the contractor, I said, look, this is something we're looking at. What, do you have a general price? If we want to move forward with it, we'll probably do a more formalized bid process. But this, I think, gives the board sort of a general ballpark of what it would cost from a contractor. If you want to move forward, I would probably do a more formal bid and put it out to, a few trusted contractors and put it out publicly.
So I just point out that I'm getting continued communications from people both for and against modifying the existing structures, for and against the speed tables. I know there are people who want to remove everything and go back to nothing. And it seems mostly or largely to fracture along where people are living and do they live next to the speed humps, where they generally seem to want it to be slower, or are they trying to get somewhere down that road, or are they concerned that the current structures require people to go too slow? And the counterpoint to that for some of the residents is there's no such thing as too slow. So I just point out that this is one of those situations where we're not likely to please everybody. But I recall, I think what our intent is to replace one of the structures with a redesigned speed table with the idea of seeing how it worked. We were not articulate or specific about what that meant. How would we know if it was better or worse?
Yeah.
You're gonna get community feedback, right? Just like you are now.
That's what we got.
Yeah.
I have spent maybe far too much time into the late evenings, looking at things for Cochran Rd. And we have a topic in a little bit here, about this. And for now, sorry, I was just hearing some feedback or I'm losing my mind, so that could be.
Oh, I heard.
Thank you.
I was listening.
You're not losing your mind.
That's an open question. I think that with the information that we have right now on what Pete has said, I wouldn't want to pursue for this year for an additional cost. I'd want to plan for next year for him to do it at the reduced cost.
Shop rate.
Yeah, and I also think that gives us some time to make some decisions around the other pieces. To me, the speed humps are a really great deterrent for speed on a road where people are walking and biking because there's no place for them to walk or bike. And so we come back around full circle to the core issue, which is that people are using the road for different things and it makes it unsafe. And so slowing people way down over the speed humps makes sense to solve for that, but it's not the right solution and so forth. So I've been looking into this and looking at some of the work we've already done and the studies that we've done and so forth, and just trying to take a step back and figure out what the bigger picture is for next summer. And I think that we should take this into consideration as part of what we do on Cochran Road next summer.
Logan.
Logan Brown, 300 Cochran Road. Why are we reconsidering the speed bumps after they were put in?
We are reconsidering, this is my perspective, we are reconsidering the speed bumps after they've been put in, because when they were originally put in, it was put in as a test, and then we just continue to move forward with them. After that, we found that they are required to go over slower than the speed limit, which was not the original ask of what we were trying to do there. We're trying to slow people down to the speed limit, and we get emails about both sides. So I wouldn't say that we are necessarily reconsidering the original thought, which is how do we make Cochran Road safer? It's, are we doing the right thing to do that, and what can we do better, is my perspective.
The test humps were the original humps.
Yes.
And it was deemed that they were doing the right thing, so permanent humps were installed, is that correct?
The test humps went in, and then I don't know what we did in terms, I don't think I was on the board at that point. What did we do in terms of approving for the actual humps to go in to deem that they were working?
Oh yeah, it was definitely, there was a trial run with the really aggressive pin down humps that no one really enjoyed. And then these were approved as a solution to keep the good aspects and get rid of the jarring.
So if I recall correctly, the sort of the engineering of this, it might hinge on this, that the speed bumps are best crossed going like 15 miles an hour, and speed tables are more like 25 miles an hour.
That's not correct.
So that's, I'm just telling you, that's what I read. So, yeah.
But that's different from the information that has been provided from the state that Susan Wells provided multiple times, that say that speed tables are more in the 35 to 40. So it seems like there's a lot of misinformation that's guiding this. And to be quite frank, the fact that this town is spending this much time and resources on something that is installed and working and requires people to do what was intended, which is to slow down, is sort of exactly what we struggle with in terms of being able to make progress on things that are for the greater good of the community. This is like, it seems like this is going to be on the agenda for the next year, and there are far greater and more important things that we believe need to be happening in this town. And quite frankly, if any of you have been on Cochran Road in the last 5 weeks, the fact that we're talking about the speed humps instead of all of the other things that are making people have to drive 5 miles an hour is ludicrous. Truly, having spent the last 3 hours in this room talking about the water project. So I would love to understand from the select board, what is it going to take for us to make an improvement in this town and stick with it and move on to other things? Like, that's what I, as a resident, would really, really like to know.
I would love to comment on that. I think that the perspective of there's a lot of other things happening is completely fair. There's a ton of other stuff happening in this town, and that doesn't mean that we can't talk about the things that we can continue to improve. From my perspective, and why I'm continuing to talk about this topic of Cochran Road and the speed humps is not necessarily about the speed humps itself. It's that that road is a recreational road that people are coming to our town to utilize, and they're doing it more frequently as we build out trail systems, as the folks are going up to Dugway Rd, where we have other issues with parking and so forth. And so we start to see that that section of our town is becoming more important. And if we continue to utilize what we have, which is the speed humps, which is solving for one small piece of the problem, which is speed in those two areas. And we don't talk about the bigger picture of what we need to get to or what is actually being successfully taken care of with those speed humps, which is the speed in those sections, as a result of not having other options to be able to access that section of road safely as recreational folks. Then we're never going to take steps beyond that. And we're going to be okay with the only thing I can think to say is the Band-Aid solution that we've put in place of putting the speed humps there, which is working for what we want it to work with, which is slowing people down, but it's not actually solving the longer term solution, which is how are we going to continue to improve this town for access on Cochran Road for people who are coming, spending money, spending time here and using it as a recreational road, and to do that safely along the full road. And so that's really where I'm coming from of why I continue to push on this and look at it more deeply, is because I'm not okay with like just the first piece of it. I want it to be better.
Let's remove the first piece and then top long bump. That's what is being discussed.
Yeah,
It's not.
I agree with Caitlin's statement slightly in that we should address the whole corridor. I disagree that this recent pushback on the speed humps is because of that. I think it's part of the inherent conflict between reducing speed for the average person and the inherent desire to have no inconvenience as you drive down the road. And so there will always be a pull. I mean, if posting the speed limit at 25 worked, we wouldn't have speed bumps. If building a speed hump that slowed everyone to 25 was possible, we would have that perfect speed hump. But what I can hit at 20, someone else hits at 10 and someone else hits at 40. And so these speed humps, I mean, inherently there will never be a speed hump that slows everyone to the speed limit and doesn't slow some people to 10. And I don't think we'll ever reconcile that. Personally, I think that these were a middle of the road approach, and I have never had any desire to reevaluate them from the perspective that they slow people down too much. I think that it's inherent to speed humps. If you're trying to slow 90% of people down, you will slow the 90%, 89% down too much and 10% down and not enough. And so at some point, the only way to make everyone go the speed limit is to have a cop at every corner or have a road that is so miserable you can't drive on it.
Well,
and the only way to make everyone feel convenienced is to never slow anyone down. And there's no way to balance those two 100%.
what I'm learning is we can ask to see data and request data. So I'd like to request a study for speed bumps, the entire length of Cochran Road from beginning to end. To have the select board pursue that study. I think that's the only way that we can keep people at the right speed, I guess, is to speed bump it. So I'd like to see the data on that report.
I would also say if we had a functional active speed sign that captured data, you would have 24 hours a day as long as you wanted. It's got to work though.
Yeah. Sarah?
The speed humps were presented to the public as a pilot, just like the speed bumps originally, that you found the speed bumps were the temporary pieces, just like Jericho found, were not meant for roadways. So that's why they had to switch to the speed hump. We are here right now because I have requested you consider putting in speed tables rather than humps. Because you should not, and if you want to go 40 over anything, you can go off the road as much as you want, right, Chelsea? The question was, as I traveled Pine Street, which has the speed tables, and I was requesting if you would consider putting speed tables on the roadways. You have at least agreed to do the cautionary speed, mile per hour speed recommendations with every hump, which is something that's good. I think that's an improvement. So each time you look at anything that you've put in place for the betterment of the community in a whole, you have to reevaluate to make sure it's what's working for the majority of the community. And this is a safety thing. It was put in for safety reasons. So the avenue was to look at other options. And what I'm surprised of is the fact that Cochran Road at the beginning at the Round Church area has been torn up due to the water and sewer. So if you were going to change anything, it would be proper timing to consider it during a construction time period where you're going to have to repave that road area. So the cost should actually be lower rather than higher if you wait a year to do it. So there's some, and when the question was, is would you do the speed study of Cochran Rd? You did the recommendations of where the humps should be placed. You have all that data. The full road is not 25 miles per hour. And if you're going to change the full road to 25 miles per hour, and you know it's a truck route, and you've stated it in Caitlin in a public meeting, the reason it's a truck,
Correct that.
the reason it's a truck route.
There's a bridge on Cochran Road that I can't even legally drive my truck across with a trailer on. I could pick.
Well, you have road signs on Cochran Road, so obviously you're not reading them that say it's a truck route. I'm not making that up.
Legally drive a truck across.
I don't have to, I'm not making up your road sign. If you need to-
24,000-pound limit.
Okay,
That's only 12 tons. So that's like.
it says it's a
you can do
truck
that- you
route.
can legally do that with that.
I don't know what that's defined as. It's your road sign. I don't mean to, it's the town of Richmond. So that's who you are.
It's our road sign because you live here too. So you like to
I
come in
don't
and say
get
it's
to-
us, it's
I don't
us, it's
get to
us.
choose-
You're part of it. You're part of it.
Please
Own it.
understand when I say it's yours,
think
it's the select boards, okay? The select board gets to decide what the road
Select
signs
I
are.
think
We
that,
have years and decades of select boards putting signs up everywhere. So it's ours. We are a town. We are a community. We are working.
I
together
understand
here.
that. And we are
If
changing
you're gonna do that,
signs.
use the language that reflects that.
Okay, the select board previous to you put a road sign up, or a road foreman put a road sign up that says truck route.
I think that there's probably some research to be done on signage versus allowance on a bridge, and we can clarify that because we have referred to that road as a truck route previously, at least I have. And that's from
Yeah.
hearing before, but
If there's
we
signage up, then
can,
that signage should be corrected, but
Yeah.
it's not.
It's
legally
okay,
a truck
we
route.
can,
we
we
can
cannot have to talk
correct
about this anymore, Adam. I know I'm upsetting you and I'm not meaning to do
You're not
that.
upsetting me. We just
It's okay,
repeatedly-
we can go to a petition. I wasn't going to a petition to have them all taken out. I wasn't going that route. I've told everybody to just take their time and let the select board work through this. Let's not go that route. Let's not do that thing. There are more people who might want them removed than kept. And that's not the route I was trying to go. I was trying to be very reasonable here and say, could we go to tables? Could you try installing a table? You've got the road dug up. Could you try to attempt to appease those who are on the other side? We always like to compromise and
Simply
come to
not
the
appeal
middle.
Anyone, I mean, these speed humps are a compromise inherently. They are the compromise. So we get the compromise and then we try to chisel away at the compromise till we get what we want. And that's why we're here, to answer Maria's question, because we didn't like the compromise, so we chisel at it for 5 years. Caitlin, go ahead.
I think to kind of square off on this topic for this evening, we've looked into the speed tables. I think from a cost perspective, I don't want to get an engineering cost, which is what is on the table tonight or additional costs essentially. What I would like to do is to keep it as part of the larger perspective. And I would also like to just emphasize that the feedback that I've primarily heard so far, and I hope to hear more, please feel free to email me specifically as I've been vocal about this topic. The feedback that I've heard is that people are walking on that first section of Cochran Rd, and I do not feel safe putting in something else until we address the walking traffic on that section of the road. Square. So I'd like to address the walking traffic before we decide to replace the speed hump at that section of the road at the very least.
Chelsea briefly, and then Kyle, and then we will move on. Chelsea, go ahead, sir.
Sure, so I guess not related to Cochran Rd, I just think that as a whole, we should consider respectful discourse and not cutting each other off. And as a town that a lot of our sort of boards and committees are dominated by men. And as a woman who was recently at a committee meeting and was literally dogpiled by two of your, so committee member and an employee, I was cut off and dogpiled. Wow. Watching you cut Kara off just now and say, own it, own it, own it.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Yeah.
Kyle?
Hear you, Chelsea, and thank you for standing up. That was very brave. But also, I just wanted to point out the fact that Pine Street in Burlington was cited a number of times in the conversation tonight, and also point out that there was a recent death of a teenage cyclist on Pine Street. So obviously, speed tables aren't particularly effective towards helping pedestrians cross safely, and I don't want to use that as a tool to push a certain way. But I was recently walking from my home on Cochran Road to the river, and there are construction signs up and flaggers and speed humps, and there was still a car that came way too close to me at 55 miles per hour right in front of the speed hump. So you can't compare Pine Street to Cochran Road at all, first of all. But at the same time, there's a very clear message there that reduced speed, reduced speed, the reduction in speed needs to happen, obviously. And I think it's very important, and I hope we continue to have this conversation, not just about the ends of Cochran Road, but all of Richmond and all of the state of Vermont, to be honest. And thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
This is an attempt at some closure. I think either through an active speed sign or a speed study after the construction is complete, I think we would benefit from a new baseline of what the actual average and distribution of speeds is, because I have no idea. I'm not there all the time. Virtually, there's nobody watching all the time. So people's experience is going to be skewed by somebody having to go really fast or really slow. I just like to get a sense of that. And I know there was concern also about damage to vehicles. And I drive like a Honda CRV. I can go over them at least 20 miles an hour without a problem. But if I had a smaller car with a shorter wheelbase, it might be more of a problem. But anyway, my real point is, I think we should probably be informed by what the current kind of baseline behavior of drivers is.
I want to reiterate what Kyle said. I mean, Chelsea's here to talk about speed. Hannah was here to talk about speed. There is an inherent problem in our entire village and more broadly that cars go too fast relative to their surroundings. And so I'd like us to move away from talking only about Cochran Road and make this, to your point, Caitlin, if you want it to be an end-to-end, I want it to be a border-to-border conversation, because it feels like a personal attack to those of us who live on Cochran Road. If we object to a person asking for everything to be undone, that somehow it becomes either a conversation about politics or gender or anything like that. But the reality is that people want to live in a community that is safe and comfortable, and where there are differing opinions and differing perspectives, but the common good has to prevail over personal preference.
Yep, absolutely. Can I make a final comment as well? And then Kara has her hand up too. I am certainly very aware that I'm pushing buttons by bringing up this topic and by continuing to talk about it. And I am okay with being the person to get any of the messages. So please feel free to reach out. I work in town. If you want to meet up, I'm happy to have a coffee, whatever you'd like to do. my my ultimate goal is to hear any perspective, and I know that when we start to talk about these things, that it feels like there are sides and there's things that are pushing against one opinion or another. And I, for work in my day-to-day life, what I do is I gather information from all use cases. I figure out how people are utilizing things, and then I find the best path forward in all the data that I can gather from all of the opinions and all of the perspectives and all of the data at hand. And so please feel free to reach out if you have perspectives that you want to share, if you want to talk about it more or talk about your experiences. At the end of the day, I am not necessarily trying to remove the speed humps to remove the speed humps. I am trying to figure out what a good plan is to continue to talk about Cochran Rd. And I will continue to talk about Cochran Rd because I am I have done a cross-country bike trip in my younger years, and cyclist safety and pedestrian safety is something that I have lived firsthand in a very scary sense, and I am very dedicated to figuring out a good solution moving forward across town. We do have a study that was completed and something to work from on the Cochran Rd piece that we can start with, but I think there's a bigger picture for sure, and I don't want the bigger picture to stop us from doing small pieces along the way. So,
thank you, Caitlin. Next, we have discussion of request to develop legal trail number 2 off of Dugway Road to driveway standards for access to a house or building lot.
You want to preface it, or I could do this? Why don't you give the overview if you want? Yeah. I'd like to, as like Director of Planning and Zoning, Keith Oborn. He's done a lot of research on the topic. It's probably best present succinct overview to the board and the public.
Let's hope. First of all, perception is reality, facts are negotiable, everybody. That's really the way I run my office to a certain extent. So legal trail number 2 is 1500 or at that location of Dugway Road. This is an approved subdivision, lots 21 and 22 of the subdivision that was approved back in 2000. The subdivision was revised in 2022 and then again revised in 2023. So the facts is that this legal trail is a right-of-way that the town has. The upgrade to the driveway to access lots 21 and 22 will require the use of a right-of-way permit to my office. Then it goes to highway and then to the town manager at this point. Planning and zoning will ensure the application is complete before moving forward. We're not quite ready for prime time on this. We have an issue with the access permit because of the revision to the subdivision. The access permit actually states that there was not a need for a culvert, and the upgrade to the subdivision requires a culvert at the access. They are also planning to do stormwater infrastructure within the right of way. That doesn't deal with the access permit per se, but it would be folded into the portion of the town trail number 2 and the portion of Dugway Road that's in the right of way for that permit. That's where we're at with that. So some of the questions are, and Dante and I, we're working through this, and Josh, the three of us are working through this. Does the access require a revision? We're going to have to figure that out.
So what was that part? Does it require what?
A revision.
Gotcha.
Or a new access permit. Dante's got to make the decision on that. My internal thinking is that we may want to have a town engineer construction for sign off for that, because Pete would sign off the right of way permit at the end of the day, or also the access permit. These will be following A76 standards regardless. It's designed to that to begin with. So that's the questions I have on legal trail number 2. That's really the long and the short of it. And Josh, if you can add anything else to it.
Yeah, I think just, really, I think for me, the reason why this is coming to the select board is because legal trail number 2 is a legal trail where the town has a legal right of way on this trail. So it's going to be developed or proposed to be developed to a driveway to service, I think, was it 1 or 2 houses?
2 lots.
Two lots. If the town didn't have the legal trail, the right of way over this land, this would be a full DRB review when it comes to the board. So really updating the board on this, just to sort of inform the board that, okay, there is this legal trail. The town doesn't own the land, but you have a right of way for the trail over the spot. So it's making sure that we're going in eyes wide open and transparent to the select board that, if the driveway continues and gets developed, that there's also a legal trail overlaying this land, and that the select board has, I guess, essentially approves that, knowing that we have some rights on this legal trail.
And so if that were, I guess this would be, there's a lot to figure out, it sounds like. If this were to be developed to driveway standard or whatever, the select board's right of way would obviously continue, and people in town would have the same rights to access within the right of way as they did previously.
That'd be my understanding, yes.
Yeah.
And then are there any, would the DRB deal with any exposures to stormwater? That permitting would be on the owner, since we don't own the land and we don't own the road. There's no exposure to the town from that perspective, it sounds like.
Not in the sense that you would be requiring maintenance. That's an agreement, and it's in deed language for those two lots up there. I would say that the road that is proposed, the driveway, it's not a road, the driveway that's going out to lots 21 and 22 doesn't utilize the whole portion of that. It utilizes the bottom 2/3 of the legal trail number 2. The other portion would still be there, that would have access as far as I know. I haven't walked it yet, but we do have plans to do that.
Chelsea?
Hey, thanks, Chelsea Brooks. I just have a question. So, who does own the land sort of under that parcel? Because on like mapping and stuff, it's separated off, same as like Dugway Road is. And Dugway Road is like listed as a right of way road. This is listed as TH 27, so Town Highway 27.
Believe that
Trail.
TH
number 2.
It used to be TH 27 prior to 2001, right, when it was converted.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, and so I think that, the actual land is owned by I'm not sure who owns the lot, but they own that land. It's similar to, I sort of look at the Stage Road issue that we looked at a few months ago, where the property owner, so it's Stage Road, Class 3 road, drivable road, up towards the end of that, up towards the border with Bolton, a landowner came in and said, look at my survey, I own everything, including the land, including the road. You've got the town has a right of way for that road, but didn't own the underlying land. But there was a section in the middle where the town actually owned that land. And so we're in the process of, giving that back to the landowner so that they own that land, but we have the right of way over it. I bring that up because my point is that roads can be laid out a couple of ways. The town can fully own it, or it can be a right of way over the land. And my understanding is this legal trail is a right of way over the land, that the town doesn't own the land, but we have the right of way for the legal trail. Hopefully that is clear.
Yeah, and I believe the owner of the land are the Rosens.
I'm not sure if it's the Rosens or the neighbors who are trying to develop.
Could go through multiple lots too. It could be,
yeah.
Could be more than just one owner.
And I haven't done that level of dive on it.
All right, so this landed on our desk early last week.
Yeah, and I think that Dante looked, and there's some things in statute that do protect the town from any future maintenance. Because that was one of my questions too. We don't want to get into an issue where, there's a flood, now the town's responsible for repairing the driveway. And we could, again, we're gonna come back with more details. You sort of wanted to preview the select board on this and get any initial questions, and we'll have all those details lined up for you guys.
You guys have any questions? Rest of the board? I guess my concerns would be that we maintain the rights we have now and that we wouldn't, expose the town to any future liabilities. Kara and then Chelsea?
Is this one of the ancient roads that were thrown up and converted to a trail? Was that the time period that this was all taking place, and it was what it is?
I think this is prior to that. This was in 2001. We found the select board minutes where the select board changed the classification from a town highway to a legal trail. I think that the throwing up of roads was more in the 2005, 2006 timeframe.
Right, but I think the question was, did the ancient road status basically it's no longer a road, it's strictly a trail and it can't convert back to a road, I think was my question. That's how the ancient road. So what happens with the ancient roads is they became the landowners basically took back ownership of their lands when the ancient roads got thrown up. So if there was never ownership by the town of the right of way itself, like they're saying, it's like more like an easement. That's why I was asking if it was ancient roads, because that precedent
Yeah,
is what happened with that. So if the ownership of the land is irrelevant,
well,
if they just maintain the ownership strictly of the easement for a trail, then it can't reverse back to a road was, I guess, my question, if it was ancient.
so I think my understanding of the ancient roads was that when those reverted back to the property owner, they were removed from the town map.
Mhm.
And this is still on the town map as a legal trail.
Okay.
So I think it's a little different. It is a good point, though, that like, make sure we do that. And
Close in timeline too,
it is very close in timeline, yeah. And it might be a good question to see, like, I mean, right now it's proposed to be a driveway. So it wouldn't necessarily meet rural road standards, but I don't know if they have any plans for future development or if they're even able to.
Can't see into the future. No.
Right, so we might need to, I mean,
I highly doubt it because they would have to bring it up to rural road standards to get up that slope.
so I don't know if it's a question for the state of, its legal trail status right now, can it be turned into a driveway? I think it can, but we should verify that.
Okay, I mean, it was previously approved back in 2000. So,
Okay.
it was, but that's when it was a town highway. So,
Okay.
extremely.
So it sounds like if you guys will dig into it and give us an update as needed.
Oh, we're digging. We're still digging. I would anticipate potentially at the next meeting, a right-of-way permit though, from the applicant, because I know that they're chomping at the bit. But it depends, it has to come in, it has to be a complete application before it gets before, well, it doesn't really even come to trying to, the rural road, the right-of-ways come to the town manager.
Right of ways come to the town manager. Yeah.
Access comes to the select board.
With this one being a legal trail, though, I want to make sure that we have full select board buy-in.
Yeah, and that's fine. That's why, that's the purpose why we're here, is we want to inform the select board.
It's a little different, like, right of way permits usually they do come to the town manager, but that's usually for like, a utility pole or something
Right.
like that Pete can sign off on, and we're fine with that.
Not a whole road.
Not a
or
whole
driveway,
driveway. That's
I
a
guess.
little, to me, it's a little different.
For an old road that's no longer road is now a trail.
That the town still has rights to with legal trail status, yeah. So I just
Oh.
want to make sure that the
Sounds fun.
board and the public is fully aware of potential development.
Yeah, and it's a full-blown stormwater plan for it, and there's stormwater in Dugway's right of way also. So that leads to my question of, and this could be an internal thing that I'll talk to Dante and Josh about, is do we want to utilize the town engineer to make sure that this is done properly? We could have the project engineer, sign off on it, which they have to anyway, but, do we want to protect the town's interests?
Have a pay for our own third party to review.
Yeah, I mean, we have that as a budget line and planning and something for that.
Great. I guess we will look forward to an update. Okay. Thank you.
Yep, staying right here.
Next, we have discussion of potential development of a town-owned strip of land off of Mary Drive to rural road standards with a focus on the additional impervious surface that would be added to the existing stormwater permit in the slope of the proposed road where it intersects Mary Drive. So I think Chelsea raised some good concerns last week when we discussed this, that there could be implications since this is all part of an existing stormwater permit, and if the impervious were to be increased at 2 or beyond 3 acres, it could trigger I don't know, there could be massive implications for the residents in the town. Sounds like Keith and or Josh or some combination of them and consultants dug into this and have some information. You guys want to share this, Keith? You're more familiar with it.
Yeah, I'll do my factual spiel, so to speak. For Mary Drive, the general permit does not require revision until 2.5 acres of impermeable surfacing is met. This is per the state. Current revised permit is at 1.76 acres as built. There's a question of, is that accurate? And I think that's a fair question. I don't think it's far off, to be honest with you. The road upgrade for Mary Drive and access to lot 12 of Sadler subdivision is 2,880 square feet, resulting in a total of 1.82 acres. So it's right now it's under 1.76. The road will add to the permit 1.82 acres. So this is a 0.6 acre or 29,620 square feet of impermeable allowance for the subdivision based on the 2.5 acres. So each 8 lot owners and the town, if they're going to expand the road, we have 29,000, basically 30,000 square feet to work with. We may need to capture the sheds as denoted. There was also a question on positioning of the houses with that, and I think those are all valid. To Chelsea's point, A76 standards and Rural Red standards will be followed. We cannot not follow them. The grades will certainly need to be adjusted on the plans, and those plans are definitely not complete. They will need to be revised at some point. Those plans were submitted by my request to get the square footage for the stormwater permit, particularly. So that's my factual take on things.
Yeah. So sounds like we have a few steps we would need to, well, I guess not we, a few steps that would need to be gone through to make sure that the stormwater exposure to the town and or the existing homeowners is minimal. Sounds like Danny's engineer has already gone through that and is in agreement with Watershed, generally speaking, about how we go about that. So they would need to come up with as-builds of the site, accurate as-builds right now to make sure that that 1.76 number is accurate, or what that number is if that's inaccurate to some degree. And then we would also need to get, well, they would need to get state buy-in in writing that the total would just be rolled into the existing amount under 2.5 acres.
Yeah, and just to be clear, Watershed did submit the permit, I think, last year or thereabouts for this development. So they had a mapped impervious surface area that they said was 1.76. It does get confusing because the permit says 2.5 acres, but that's the total permitted amount of impervious. I did see an email back.
So that's how much impervious could exist up there.
I think that's essentially it.
That's what it's designed to.
I did see an email back from the state to, I think, the project engineer that stated that, yeah, it would be added to the 1.76. So I think we're getting to that certification from the state that we need. There was a question from a resident about the map. He said that it was missing some sheds and the shape of his house was incorrect. So I forwarded that to Andres today to ask him, okay, what about these discrepancies? I'll update the board as soon as we hear back from him, but he usually has a process that he follows, and I'll ask him what's going on.
Perfect. Josie.
Thanks for looking more into this. I think since last time I've had a couple other things I just wanted to point out regarding us. So the ultimate goal here, right, is that like somebody wants to develop land and we want to make sure that the existing landowners are protected and town is protected. And I think definitely aside from stormwater, the select board should be sure to consider what upgrade to A76 would look like for the adjoining homeowners. Because if they were aware of what that might look like to their property, they might not agree to the road agreement. So like, I think that they need to be given the full picture and not sort of like bait and switched. And so I think that that's important. Well, because they're sort of agreeing to this road agreement in terms of making this road bigger and who's going to maintain what, correct? If A76 is met right now, that portion of the roadway off of Mary Drive slopes upward quite a lot. To comply with A76, it needs to slope away down from the cul-de-sac for like 20 feet or something. And that's going to be a large cut into that, like, right? So if the land slopes up like this, and then you're trying to get it to slope away, and your land is like this, then you're cutting into your land to get it to slope away. That means the neighboring landowners are going to have banks on the sides going down to what will be the new rural road. Do they know this when they sort of signed off onto that road agreement, right? Like, so I just want everybody to go in with eyes wide open and not have something a surprise to them later on, because it would be really unfortunate. Yeah. And the homeowners on either side of that lot K both also have their septic fields sort of adjacent to lot K. So depending on where is this water going to run and how is that going to work? Septic leach fields don't tend to like stormwater dumped on it. So just making sure that all the plans are sort of clear to those folks before they're like giving their thumbs up.
I think those are valid, but it's not a bait and switch, for number one. Absolutely not. We are trying to do this by dotting our i's and crossing our t's. You know, we try to do the best we can here. Right? I do take a little bit of umbrage to that comment. And I'll leave it at that.
Sure. To be clear, I wasn't meaning our zoning office baiting and switching. I was meaning like the plans that were presented to them. And sort of the road agreement that wasn't drafted by our zoning office.
Yep. Hey, Pete O'Neill, one of the adjacent homeowners. And yeah, I think Keith, you're saying the plans to get updated, take into account the standards that we said in the first part. As long as the plans are updated, I mean, that's all we really care about, just knowing that whatever the plans are now is what is most likely going to be what's implemented. You just want to get a good idea of what's going to turn into what we have to maintain. As long as we have that accurate in the plans, and that's what we're agreeing to in this maintenance agreement we need to sign, great. So that's my point.
Great, thank you. Board have any questions or?
No, I have a comment. I think we've met on this in a couple different meetings, and I know that the neighbors have been part of each of the discussions. Thanks for being here tonight. And so I'm confident that the information is being shared properly with neighbors as we go through the process. So thank you.
The road agreement, have you guys read that closely? I know you have.
I'm not, I read.
It's lot 12.
Stay closely.
Lot 12 takes on responsibility to build it to the standard and then to maintain it. And then the group, they share the snow plowing and the winter, winter icing and stuff. But lot 12 takes on a lot of the effort to build it right and maintain it. And it's then also my understanding is from the cul-de-sac 12 feet in, at that point there's a 5-inch depression. So there will be a downward slope 12 feet to the 12 feet mark, and then it comes back up. And so my engineer said maybe a little less than 3 foot cut into that.
I think if you have those plans and the adjacent homeowners have a chance to review them.
Yeah, we didn't know when to present them, to the DRB.
Yeah.
I think as long as adjacent homeowners, I mean, as long as they're aware of what they're buying into, Chelsea's point, when they sign off, then.
Yeah, the way it is now is just the water runs down the center of the road across the cul-de-sac to a neighbor below. And so we're definitely going to make it better than it is now. Maybe
Yeah, so we spent a chunk of change in the spring to update the part that is owned by the town that will be the road. So it wasn't draining across the cul-de-sac as much into the neighbor across the ways. So we've been, maintaining it and doing everything for years, and now we're just trying to make sure everything is clear of what it's going to be going forward.
Great.
I know Connie and Steve are on the line. Good day. Awesome.
Does anyone else on the board have any questions? It sounds like everything's being thoroughly vetted and the homeowners seem to be aware of it. So we'll wait for more info and an update.
So you want a updated road plan? Even though you're not going to approve it.
We necessarily need the road plan. I like looking at plans, but as a select board member, I don't think I need, I don't know, very fun. Got contours on them and stuff. I don't think we need to review that.
Yes, I know that the road maintenance agreement, I think it references the plan. So maybe have it reference the newest plan that takes into account A76 standards. And then that way the board would be, I think, confident that the homeowners have reviewed it and understand what's going on.
That's fair.
And then I guess one thing I would ask if we were to approve this with that maintenance plan executed, I would just want to confirm with all the homeowners that they had free access to those plans and they had a chance to review them. And then if they're all bought in and we are confident we are covering our bases with stormwater and the maintenance agreement, I think that
good to go.
We are protecting a lot of the interested parties and stuff. So including the town.
There you go.
I think the stormwater was a good Good flag, Chelsea. It's also good for us to get in the habit of reviewing these things so we don't create another Seth view for ourselves.
No, God, yeah.
Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Danny. Next we have discussion of applying for a VTrans Transportation Alternatives Program grant.
Yes. Let's see here. All right, so I was again thinking about Cochran Rd late into the night, and one of the topics that we've been discussing is that we don't have budget to be doing a lot of the things that we want to be doing, and so I started to look into grant funding and alternative funds that we could use to help improve the town generally. I emailed a little bit with Josh and with Keith and Pete about the Transportation Alternatives Program. And I'm just going to read this part. It funds exactly the kind of pedestrian infrastructure that we're exploring, and not necessarily to constrict us to the conversation of Cochran Rd. It's a grant that can be used for sidewalks, crossing, safety improvements generally. It's 80% federal money with a 20% local match. I believe it's up to $600,000 of what I could find was the top of it. And typically it's not published yet for this year. But typically it comes out between like October or September to October for the announcement. And then applications are due. Last year they were due in November. The year before they were due in December. So this grant is something that we didn't have a plan for just yet necessarily, and what we're just looking for here is just the board's blessing to continue to explore it and get some more information and figure out something to more formally propose. But Keith, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, my update on that is that, as you stated, it's a little premature at this point. This landed on my desk, is it Thursday?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. But I do have an email out to the program administrator at the state. I haven't heard back from him yet. I have talked to Jason Shrest at CCRCP. He says, well, since you've reached out to Mr. Robinson, into his neighborhood, and he hasn't responded yet. He's going to wait on that. So we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. It's a TAP grant. The state's website is not updated. And again, I'm looking for information. That's pretty much where we're at. I did have a thought though. With this, we have an issue down on Depot Street with the transition in front of there's a Masonic building there. It's down in that area there. It's for number one, it's not ADA compliant by any stretch of the imagination. And then there's a step down for some unknown reason. And I was thinking
sidewalk and then it drops.
Yeah, and then it drops down again. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like if you're in a wheelchair, you can get some speed up before you hit the like 10-inch step.
But you know, this is infrastructure that was built decades ago. So regardless of that, I was hoping that maybe we could throw that into that too.
Yeah.
So that's my only
thought. I guess that's my question. Do we need a specific proposal for this program, or is this a program?
You will.
So we don't need one right now, but we would need one to apply.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, and so like we've talked about tonight, there's a lot of infrastructure pieces. This grant can also cover I forget the technical name for it, and I can't find it in my writing here. Multi-use sidewalks, paths. Thank you, multi-use paths. So some of the other surrounding towns have used this grant specifically to expand their trail networks. So where trails connect to sidewalks or areas where pedestrians are then connecting into other parts of town and so forth. So I think that we are really ahead of it, which is great, and it gives us some time to think about and bring some proposal forward of what we would want to use this best for, or in multiple places.
The planning term is marinate.
Yes, that's what we want to marinate on, but we just wanted to kind of get a blessing to explore it. It is an 80% match, and then there would be a 20%. So whatever we decide to do, we would be needing to fund the 20% with whatever proposal we move forward.
And does this follow sort of typical scoping, preliminary engineering?
I would imagine it would follow that same.
I only point that out that people sometimes get frustrated by these funding. Like, I just want to design and build it this year, and that almost never happens. It really is over these steps that sometimes take a while.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah, based on past TAP grants that we've had to return, I want to make sure that we absolutely have enough public discourse on this.
Yep.
Discourse doesn't have to be negative. So
Yep.
it's,
Yeah, and just to comment on that, so we did have
To go a step further, there's infinite projects we could do in Cochran Rd. Just solicit public proposals for projects instead of proposing stuff ourselves.
I mean, I would love to have folks write to me on different things.
It could be any, and it could be any scope on Cochran Rd. Like this could cover everything from a bike path. Probably not going to cover that because it's 600,000
Nope.
to like maybe some sidewalks around the green by the round church with a
Yeah.
sidewalk with a crosswalk there
That kind of scale.
around the intersection. That we
Yeah,
talked
and it can even be like, we don't have to do every piece. It's a piece of money that allows us to do something. So maybe it's the most needed area that has a section of sidewalk that's necessary or multi-use path that's necessary. The reason that this is coming up with Cochran Rd is because we do have that study that gives us some things to work off of, which is a strong application point. I will say that as well. But it certainly wouldn't cover some of the bigger ticket pieces there. It's really more of we could start a sidewalk or multi-use path in a first part of Cochran Rd.
a la carte it.
probably design it for $600,000.
Yeah, well, and yeah, and some of the work that we've done there would allow us to present that as part of the plan, that this is a feasible thing. Going back to the Bridge Street piece of things, the last TAP was Bridge Street. That was the last TAP application that we had, and then it was granted. We didn't have the study that we had done on Cochran Rd in a similar sense. So we would just want to go into it with enough time like we have now to make sure that we
the Bridge Street study definitely was scoped, and as is the Cochran Rd and THBC. So you have a ton of scoped material in front of you. And we were obviously going through design when we had to return that, but that's ancient history.
Yep.
So what are you going to run with this, Caitlin?
Yeah, I think Keith and Josh and I have got email chain going. I would welcome input on what to explore here. Note that it is up to 600K in things that can get approval. Other towns have used it for 300, 200, and you can find many examples: Shelburne, Heinsberg, Jericho.
Last question, sorry, just while we wrap our head around this. It's a great opportunity. Do we have to narrow it down, or are we narrowing it down to Cochran Rd? Because that's where we have the most information on now. If another idea
That was
pops
just
up,
the starting idea.
like if a community idea pops up that we haven't thought of and it's not Cochran Rd for some reason. We're not specifically narrowed to Cochran Rd. That's just what we had done the most discussion about recently.
I imagine there'll be a point where we come back and present the top ideas that we want to consider and see what path we should continue down more deeply towards the application process. So no, it was just the spark that ignited we should explore this grant.
Cool. All right, just while people are coming up with ideas, are there any constraints around what we can apply this to as far as, the balance between, like, we talked about sidewalk, which is like classic, in-town infrastructure, all the way out to trails, which can be seen as much more out of town. And is there any constraints on that?
Yes, maybe Keith, you might know more than I do, but not necessarily
We don't
trails.
cover that.
Misspoken.
It's just,
I
have like a resource for people who are thinking about ideas and implementation. What the constraints are.
I would just research the TAP grant. There are resources online around the grant, and I believe in the packet we included a link as well. So it's on the packet for tonight. Not necessarily paths. I was speaking of like the infrastructure to get to the path.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So sidewalks, connection, pedestrian points, so forth.
I think it is all about connectivity and safety.
Yep. Yeah, and of course, we would need to, once we come to, some ideas to explore, we would bring, some estimated dollar amounts, and we would have to decide what we'd want to invest as a town towards that 20% and what we don't.
Yeah, and we'll lean on regional planning also.
Cool. No question. Oh, Kara.
Sent via in kind at all? Can we do some of the work? Is that allowed?
I've been wondering that.
I've wondered that too. That's been part of my exploration of like, some of my late night thoughts have been, where can we get money from? Grants, in-kind donations, fundraising, one of the really successful things that we've had in town is that 4th of July fundraiser. There's probably other things.
So, the highway department doing some of the work, and we count that as in kind versus.
Potentially.
Contract.
Cash out of pocket.
That's a great question. We can look into that.
That goes a long way.
Yeah.
Especially if it's a project they were going to tackle in the next however many years.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Anything else? Next we have an update on progress. Oh, sorry, we have a update for planning and zoning first. What we have this.
Yeah, you guys are getting a monthly report from both my office, which includes what the planning commission for the most part is doing, what I'm doing, and what the zoning administrator is doing. I instead of going through it, it's been posted for a bit now. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. If you have any concerns, just reach out to me. We have been busy from the permitting point of view. The past 2 weeks we've been really busy, big time. Lot of small things, but we do have a bit of infill development going on right now. We have it up at Browns Court. We've had it previously off of West Main, and both north and south on those sides, and we have inquiries in on multiple other parcels within the town that would be considered infill development. One of the focus that the planning commission is doing right now, and I just want to put a plug into that, and Chelsea in particular, is that we are promulgating rules for stormwater and erosion and sedimentation, which are non-existent in our RZR Richmond zoning regulations, other than slope issues for erosion and sedimentation. If you're at 20%, you have to have a professionally designed plan. But short of subdivisions, there is no stormwater controls whatsoever in the RZR right now. And we're looking to get a compromise and be able to have my office require that with permitting at certain tiers, certain triggers. But erosion and sedimentation is something that has already been implemented on all zoning permits right now. You have to have some type of plan with them. And we rely on one very opaque clause in the Richmond zoning regulations, and that is under the permitting section. And the clause states any other information that the zoning administrator requires. So that's probably wouldn't stand up, honestly, but that's what we've been requiring for permits for erosion and sedimentation, if needed. So that's I mean, it's 6 pages of a report. We're going to try to get that down to 3 for next month at this point, but it's a lot of cut and paste, to be honest with you. But Dante does update the chart, the permitting chart, which is always interesting to look at. So,
do you mind giving us a quick numbers of how many additional units we've had permitted? All that stuff on the top.
Well, this past month, we've had 1 single family dwelling and 1 ADU permitted, which is always a good sign.
Yeah.
For the year, we've had 1 single family dwelling and 1 ADU permitted. And I think we've had a little bit more than that. I don't mean to be flip, but we're hardly moving the needle right now. We really are. And we know why. I mean, it's cost of doing business. It's horrendous. So.
Sure.
Brought up before when it came to the parcel with Danny Pete that consideration was a factor in why going that avenue is to increase the grand list value, etc. If our permitting numbers are, I'm gonna just state it, extremely low.
That's an understatement.
Would the town consider in consideration and potentially waiving some fees and have a moratorium on fees for the next 12 months or something like that, basically waiving the fees for building permits and the fees for DRB permitting, in consideration of the increased business value that you will get out of it. Might be a good idea if you want to promote any kind of encourage people to come to Richmond, to expand within Richmond, to maybe create ADUs, accessory dwelling units. For those of you out there who are not aware of what that is, that means convert a garage into an accessory dwelling, or add a small accessory dwelling, or convert an attic or something else.
that it might be beneficial to the town to consider that. And it also might be a good idea for all of those homes that never got permits but needed them. And so for the sale of those homes to get permits, it would put more homes in compliance if you encourage them to get a permit because you're waiving permit fees. Just something for you to consider, because I think you have extremely low numbers and makes your issues with your water and sewer system even more measurable with the fact that you're looking at a $20 million upgrade or whatever they call it. Sorry, Bart, I don't know what they've called it this time around, but they've called it something like that. So just a thought that if consideration is really a factual thing, then prove it.
Keith, a question, what's the total of fees, permitting fees that somebody's paying for, like the two projects you just described?
Well, neither of those require DRB approvals. DRB approvals would be for PUDs and subdivisions. Obviously, you could waive those fees. I mean, that's the overall cost of the project. I mean, it's pretty minimal, but it is a cost savings. There's no doubt about that. I would say,
It's the appearance of welcoming.
oh, optics are huge. Absolutely. As far as it's 40 cents a square foot for each structure. You do not have a fire impact fee with ADUs because they're associated with a single family dwelling. So it would be the square footage, the base permitting fee, and the recording fee is what it is. So on a 1,000 square foot ADU, that would be $1,000. That would be $400 because it's 40 cents per square foot, no impact fee, $15. It'd be $415 for an ADU. If it's 1,000 square.
Single family dwellings.
Yep.
That's where you're low in numbers as well.
Right. So
Maybe even affordable.
it would be the 40 cents per square foot regardless, and the fire impact fees, which is $217.43, which is I don't know where that 43 comes from.
Isn't Joliet Court have a whole nother building over there that maybe they sign up and want to start building something that they've already got permitted if there was?
Yeah, that's on my report, actually. There's an update. I always recycle Joliet Court because they got 9 units approved for floor 1 right here. And they haven't done anything because they can't afford it. That's what they
It's
said.
like ballpark for a 2,000 square foot single family. All the fees and impact fees it's right around $1,000.
Yeah, somewhere around there. Some could be more. I mean, most
more or less, depending on the size of the house and fees. Yep.
Consideration.
Thank you, Keith.
Yep.
Do you have anything else to add? Any questions for Keith?
Nope. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Great.
Next, we have update of progress made in 2025 for the implementation of the all hazards mitigation plan.
So this is a annual update that we do. The full report's included in the packet, but basically we report back on the plan and any updates we've made. Any progress, a lot of it's road improvements. There's some planning items as well. But a brief overview is we've made progress on the hydraulic study of the Winooski River, which is actually our next agenda item to look into a meeting for that. We've installed curbing on East Main Street to help with stormwater drainage, culvert replacements on Jericho Road, Huntington Road, Sherwood Forest Road, Hillview Road, and Jones Mill Road. We also have ditch and or shoulder armoring on Governor Peck Highway, Heinsberg Road, and Stage Road. I think the vast majority, if not all of that, was performed by our road crew as they continue to try to improve our infrastructure to handle stormwater.
Thank you, Josh.
Great.
Have any questions? Next, we have consideration of setting a date for a special meeting for the presentation of flood mitigation alternatives analysis for the Winooski River and its tributaries.
Yes, this, you might remember that I think we kicked this off almost coming up on 2 years now. I think it was about 1.5 years ago. We had a meeting over at the library. And this was to study the Winooski River, its tributaries in light of the flooding that we came off of in 23 and 24. You probably remember the helicopter flight, perhaps, that they flew over the Winooski and really mapped everything like down to the centimeter or so. So they're ready to present their findings right now. They've got, I think, about 40 or 50 different alternatives and potential projects to present to the select board and to the public. So I'll look for some feedback from the board as far as which projects to pursue for sort of more, I think, more design to then ultimately get a project into the grant program that could realize some construction. So we could hold this back over at the library, knowing that there might be a larger attendance. I've provided a couple of dates in the memo to the board where the library is available and where Stone Environmental is available. But I also included a couple other dates where the town center is available, because looking out over the next couple of weeks, the library only had 2 dates that coincided with the engineers. So if you wanted to hold it here in the town center, you could. Obviously, with the Zoom option, people can still attend via Zoom, even if they have limited seating. There's other ways to attend. But I think this would be a special meeting just for this, because I think the presentation will probably be a good half hour or more.
Right.
And I imagine, judging by the last meeting, there's a lot of public interest.
Yeah.
So I'd want to allow a lot of time for public feedback and discussion.
Do I have any day preferences?
Don't schedule on my core, but Thursdays are not good for me.
I can't do Thursday, August 6th, but the other dates are good.
Why don't we start with me? I can't do any of those dates.
Okay.
I have various things. I have a DRB meeting on one of them, but I'm the applicant, not I'm on the other end of it. So
When's the DRB meeting though? Is that gonna take up people?
no,
from
it's a South
DRB?
Burlington DRB meeting.
Oh, okay. I think Tuesday or Wednesday dates would work best for me, but
I mean, I think if you guys want to do that Tuesday or Wednesday too, I can try to tune in and listen. After my meeting my DRB meeting will be quick. And then also Wednesday, try to tune in and listen, but I won't make it. But I don't think it's
Either of those
I
work.
think it's
for
more
me.
important that we get this hearing done than we get all 5 of us here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the air conditioner is working overtime. I feel like
Yes.
in the seat. So if I did noise throughout the meetings this evening.
Why is the tile out?
I think that's been out for a while.
It's never
Any
looked at.
reason?
It goes back a couple years. There was a leak. I think I think a condenser pan overfilled. That thing was on the floor one morning. We cleaned it up. I'm not sure how many replacement tiles we have, if any. So
So the tile's there.
So what date would
Is
we
the
like
tile
to
up
set?
there?
yeah.
we need to move it over. We'll move it over then. I didn't
Okay.
realize. I knew that we lost a couple of these and replaced some, but we can move it back over. Maybe they were looking at it recently.
Yeah, it's just a lot louder with the tile out.
I'm sure that's probably
It
what
is, yeah.
So we'll
So know it's
take
working.
care of that.
Yeah.
All right. That's an easy fix.
Back to the date.
So what date? Tuesday the 4th?
I can do that.
We have a meeting on Monday the 3rd, so then we'd have another meeting Tuesday the 4th. I think that's fine, but just
Yeah.
I'm fine with this, as I've already said, I can't attend, so.
So Adam, this is David. I move to hold a special meeting of the select board on Tuesday, August 4th at 7 PM at the
Library's free. I would go with the library.
Richmond Free Library for a presentation and discussion on the flood mitigation alternative analysis for the Winooski River and its tributaries.
Do we have a second?
Is it Bard? I'll second that.
Any more discussion? All those in favor of having a meeting on August 4th at the library?
Bard, aye.
David, aye.
Adam, aye. Great. Next we have consideration of approval of using $16,800 from the Town Center Reserve Fund to replace the Richmond Free Library's wastewater pipe. So this is one of the few topics that I'm actually have expertise in. And I was adamant that Josh had indicated previously that the inspection revealed that the pipe might not be continuously sloped. All these different problems. There's roots, there's cracks, there's heaves, all kinds of stuff. P&P has inspected it and they are confident if they do this process called pipe bursting, they'll basically break a new pipe inside the old pipe that has no seams in it. They'll stand behind it and they'll fix it. And it's about half the price of digging it up and replacing it.
And it's less than twice the price of an oil change on the elevator.
With the new drain, we still cannot put the oil down the drain, so that's good.
It's true.
It
would kill the
So I mean, realistically, for the length of this pipe and the amount of infrastructure, lawn, road that we'd have to damage for
Yeah.
$16,800, it's a lot of money, but that is significantly less intrusive and costly than digging up.
And it has to be.
All of
fixed.
that
It's not like
and we
can
have
put
to
it
fix
on.
it.
Yeah, it's getting increasingly worse.
So having seen what an extended project does to the neighborhood. Yeah, yeah.
Madam, this is David. I move to contract with P&P Septic to replace the wastewater pipe for the Richmond Free Library using the pipe burst method at a cost of $16,800 with funding to come from the Town Center Reserve Fund.
Is Barnell second?
Can you just explain to me what is the pipe burst method? What is this a
Take like a
dangerous thing?
polyethylene pipe and they put this weird like bit thing on it that's like shaped with like splitters, like a splitting maul, and they run a cable through the pipe, they hook onto it and they drag the new pipe with the old pipe, and it literally breaks the old pipe and puts a new pipe like directly in place of it.
And then you just leave the broken piece.
It's all underground. You just like it just like breaks it underground. And so if you were to dig it up, there'd be like a broken pipe with a new fresh polyethylene pipe inside it.
But it's like deep enough in the ground that that's not a problem.
Yeah, it's not.
It only goes a few inches into the soil.
Oh, because it's not like it's just like a.
Yeah, it doesn't blow everywhere.
So it just
I'm picturing a science book that's like
pushes it like it just pushes it like half an inch out. It doesn't like burst and
Got
explode.
it.
Just
Yeah.
cracks it.
Geyser.
Thank
Pipe
you.
cracking, I think, would be better.
Really, I mean, once P&P explained it, I mean, it's gonna be a fully smooth seamless pipe, so limited roots, like really no roots can get in because there's no cracks, there's nothing to shift and create a seam where things are getting caught right now and backing up. And the way he explained it, it'll be like glass, it'll fly right
I mean,
there. So it's like, that's actually great.
I've heard like the when you do the pipe bursting, actually that's better than like a new plastic line because it's less fragile and there's no seams.
Yeah.
It's like
And this is even like less expensive than if we were to do the whole excavation, which looks like it's like $30,000. So
Yeah.
this is
A lot less intrusive. We don't have to, I think we'll have to close one lane of Bridge Street for a day to get this in, but
instead of digging across Bridge Street.
Yeah.
no one wants to do that.
Yeah. And all the infrastructure that we dig up when we do that.
Exactly. That's probably why excavation is a lot more, because they know there's a lot of it.
With excavation, unless the pipe is going exactly the route of the original pipe, they leave the pipe there anyway.
Okay.
Cool. So
That's great.
do we have a motion?
We do.
Yes.
We just need to
Second.
vote.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Bard, aye.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, I. New sewer lines. Great.
Yay.
Next, we have one set of minutes to approve.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve the minutes from the July 6th select board meeting.
Is Barnell second?
All those in favor?
Bard, aye.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, I.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve purchase order number 5626 to Simple Route for IT services for fiscal year 27 for the $19,404 portion that is billable to the admin department.
Does Barnell second?
So on the PO, just be clear, we have $19,404, which is for admin, $4,158, which is billed to water and wastewater. So we're only approving the admin portion.
Yep, and water and sewer approved the water and sewer breakout earlier tonight.
I would be remiss if I did not note that there was conversation at the Water Sewer Commission meeting about concerns about some of the support services specifically related to a printer. But I don't think that should dissuade us or influence our vote here. It's just a note that things are not perfect in IT land.
And we could begin the process of finding another vendor.
We'll say that would be our recourse would be to put it out for bid.
What does admin mean here? Like, what is this?
So,
Just everything not water and sewer, so like the town center,
and I mean, well, mostly.
not the most
Yeah,
clear.
it's mostly covering like myself, finance, town clerk's office, planning and zoning. Police has its, they have their own IT service. They kind of go through the state for some of their things. Library also has their own service so that they get some emails through the town. So that's basically what the admin is. Highway, I think, has actually 2 computers that we're going to talk about having them covered as well. And I am aware, they're like Steve brought up in the water and sewer meeting. There's been a few things, at least over the last few months. It was like, geez, why is that taking so long? This is kind of ridiculous. They recently changed our direct contact. The person that was our direct contact is no longer with the company. If that tells you something. And the new person's been pretty proactive about reaching out to me and trying to tie up loose ends. We have a meeting, I think, in
So the service is improved.
service, I believe, is starting to improve, and I've got a meeting with them the next week or two. We wanted to sit down and kind of go over our entire account and make some recommendations. So I'm optimistic. I mean, they've been great in the past. We definitely hit a bump in the road and hopefully we'll get back on track.
Great. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Bard, aye.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, I. We have two more purchase orders, right?
Yep.
One to Richmond Rescue.
Adam, this is David. I move to approve purchase order number 5633 to Richmond Rescue for the fiscal year 27 appropriation in the amount of $60,088.
Is Bard, I'll second.
Do you have any discussion?
I just want to, I've said it before, but I'll say it again, state my appreciation to Richmond Rescue for the service they provide.
Also put a plug in to subscribe to Richmond Rescue, because the one time you need an ambulance, it saves you enough money that you can subscribe for approximately, I think, 20 years. And it also stabilizes their funding, which makes their life much easier. So it's a win-win.
Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Bard, aye.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, I. We have one more purchase order.
So this is an additional $35,000?
No, this is amending it to 35. So the initial quote was $33,031.
Oh, okay.
So I think that the cost of the trade-in went down like 2,000, and there was a couple other numbers that changed by like $100 or so. So the net effect is it's going to cost about $2,000 more for the crew cab.
Okay. Madam, this is David. I move to amend purchase order 5192 to New Car of St. Albans for a pickup truck to the amount of $35,222.48 due to a reduction in the value of the trade-in and some slight changes in other costs since the initial quote.
Is Bard, I'll second.
All those in favor?
Bard, aye.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, I.
So they didn't throw in the floor mats and the mud flaps?
I was thinking, boy, this is cheap till I saw that first.
Still like, I don't know, for a four-door diesel F, like, you guys looked at price trucks recently? It's not that ridiculous. I mean, it's not ridiculous on the spectrum of how ridiculous cars are priced. How's that?
Yeah.
I look at cars all day, every day, and this is very reasonable first.
Right.
Next, I guess the last thing we have is agenda items for next meeting. So,
did we vote on that?
We did.
Okay.
I saved my comment for after we had voted. One would be the radar feedback sign and permit
Yep, West Main Street.
on West Main.
Yep, I got that.
Got that.
Can we get an update on the, just like the timeline of the signs that we have pending for the couple things that we've approved recently, the,
HPC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask Pete on.
not to like push on him, I'm just wondering if we have a timeline, it might be better.
Yeah, no, I know I've talked about them both with him. I know he was in the process of ordering them. I can find out when they're gonna be ordered or when they'll be here. And so I think he's probably ordered. Probably order all of it at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Can we get a post-construction, post-sign, either active speed monitoring over there on Cochran, or a speed study to see what is actually going on with a new baseline?
so I believe that Chief Cohen has pulled some data out of the existing signs.
Okay.
So, just one of my notes.
Defer it in. Yeah.
One of my notes to myself that we were talking about earlier was like, hey, what data do we already have? He's usually good about getting it, downloading it, putting it into a good graphic format to update the board and the public on what we have right now. And then, once the construction's done, trying to see if because I agree with Kara that sometimes they don't work perfectly because of the weather, especially in the winter.
Sometimes they forget to turn on the data collection.
Well, I think the data collection's been on, but when it's cloudy in the winter and darker, they're sold. So they sometimes don't run that off.
Not a function of the sign not working, like the radar part of it. It's just a battery.
It dies.
It's usually the solar or the battery. Yeah, so and they are, I mean, if we were gonna put more of these in, hardwire might be the best way. Yeah, or if there's better technology, I know, I mean, Duncan has spent a lot of times like contacting someone. There's like one person in Maine that works on these batteries, so it's quite an effort to try to get them troubleshooted. But yeah, I think that, they generally work in the summertime. We have a decent amount of data. So I'm gonna ask Chief Cohen to see what we have for current data and what we might be able to do going forward.
Did we approve the warrants?
We did not approve the warrants.
Oh,
I moved to approve the warrants as
Thank you.
presented.
Bardell second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Bard aye.
Caitlin, I.
David, I.
Adam, I. Good catch, David.
Thanks.
Anyone else have items for next agenda?
We had an item at the beginning that we were gonna. Before we're gonna discuss more the West Main.
That was, yeah, I got that.
Oh, yep. So.
Sure, it'll fill up. Just an update from Pete on that culvert.
Oh, yeah,
Approve
I
that.
got that written down as well.
Do you want to reach out to the housing committee or should I reach out to Connie?
So as far as the next subcommittee meeting,
Yeah.
I was gonna have Duncan try to sort of organize everybody on that. So I'll have to reach out to, it was you and Bard, right? And then Champlain Housing Trust.
Oh, I was thinking more along the lines of just an update.
Oh, the next
first two,
update.
But
No, so Connie did get back to me and said that, I think she gave me the second meeting in August is when worked for her. So I said I'd reach out ahead of that to make sure that still works for her in the committee. But it looks like we're sometime in August.
that gives them some time to regroup.
It gives them some time to, yeah, put the thoughts together and come back to this.
Great.
This may be sensitive, but I'm gonna point out at the Regional Planning Commission, the start now of every meeting, we've been doing this for 2 years, I think. There's a brief note about group expectations, what we expect of our own behavior, what we expect of people participating in the meeting. And it's really pretty short, but it may have been helpful. I have seen people be really like pleasant to each other, even when it's a big deal issue. And it might be helpful for us as a group, including both ourselves and the folks who come. And it's sort of like a minute at the beginning, like group expectations that kind of set.
Do you want to review the CCRPC expectations and see if that's something the board wants to put into practice? I imagine.
It's really short
Yeah,
and sweet.
I've seen them. I've been to
Yeah.
a couple of meetings as well, but I could ask them to send them to me and have the board review if that might be helpful.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would not, from at least my perspective, we don't have to overthink or wordsmith stuff. It's as much about setting the tone as the specific language, I think.
And I think they probably spent a good amount of time
They did.
wordsmithing it. So if
We'll
we
just copy their homework.
can borrow their homework.
That's how they roll.
I think we should, you got.
Aaron's got a question.
Aaron?
Just a statement that Jericho and Underhill meetings do that already.
Great.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thanks, that's good to know.
So you can mine that information as well.
Thanks.
Thank you, Aaron.
This is David. Move to adjourn.
Sparrow second.
Those in favor?
Barb, aye.
Caitlin, I.
David, nay.
Adam. Aye.
Oh, thank you, Adam.
This consequential vote of the evening. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank
Been up
you.
since 3 in the morning.
It's
Are we,
just-
are we still live here?
We are, yes. We would need a motion to adjourn. Second,
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
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 You're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.